Um, cool. So for everybody here, who's heard about the bubble, like Airbnb bust, this whole crazy trend that people are thinking about, like Airbnbs are dying and all this kind of stuff? Has anybody heard that?
Yep.
Got
Part
it.
of it.
Yeah. And so that could be daunting. There's a lot of negative news. People are saying, oh, well, the last 2 years were, the best years for Airbnb. And now we're heading into this crazy era that you can't make money and all this stuff. And that is so far from the truth. It's a lot of fear. And that doesn't show that like there are people that are losing in this battle, but at the end of the day, we're going to give you tips and tricks, and you guys are actually taking the first step forward to say, you know what, I want to educate myself and actually learn how to overcome this and learn from everybody else on really how you differentiate your product and make it something that is sellable, not only with short-term hacks, but long-term things you can implement right now so that you don't have to be succumb to this middle tiers place where you're not getting bookings. So without further ado, just kind of give an introduction. So for the people that don't know, I'm Patryk. I have 5 short-term rentals. 4 of them are in the Joshua Tree area. Those 4 were actually partnered up with Josh. So Josh here, it has been a house flipper for over 10 years, has 100+ flips under his belt, and pretty much has taught me everything about rehabs and all of that kind of stuff. So we do a strategy called the Burster, which is essentially a BRRRR into an Airbnb. So we buy the property distressed, we add value to the property, and then we refinance, rent it out, and repeat. Right. And so the goal is to pull as much money out as possible. With the Airbnb, you're not pulling out as much money, but that's kind of the strategy that we do, just as a overview. And with, yeah. So Josh, do you want to add anything to that?
I think you explained it pretty well. I've done about 100 properties. Patryk actually got me into short-term rentals. I was doing flips, and Patryk had already bought his first property and had a lot of value to share with me. I was already interested in getting in the short-term rental space, and it's been awesome so far. We're getting really high occupancy, and Patryk's definitely an expert on this stuff, so definitely listen to what he has to say.
Awesome. And so this journey we took on together, and honestly, as we're gonna go, like as we went through all of this time of our properties being up, we realized that there are certain properties in our portfolio that don't do well, and there's certain properties that do really, really well. And we've noticed, and I've noticed personally through reading and interacting with so many people on Facebook, on STR Nation, and just really getting a holistic view of some of the things that people reach out to me for. And they're, constant. I get people especially from Joshua Tree area, reach out to me. How can I actually make this a good product? How can I really stand out? Can you help me with my game room and really making it a differentiated amenity? All these questions I've been getting for so long. And I've realized I just want to record it. And I want to have this just be a thing that people can refer to at any point to help their listings and make them successful Airbnb hosts. So some of the things that we've achieved, our properties, the ones that do well, are always in the 90th percentile of properties in the Joshua Tree area. And our properties, compared to our comps, do significantly better. So we get first page rankings, rare finds, tags. We get all sorts of things, and I pretty much studied and worked with some of the best in our industry to be able to come up with exactly what we want to do and how to structure the booking and the listing and all these little hacks. I've tried them all. And I've talked to people like Sean from Airbnb Automated, all these different people that are high in our industry, Bill Faith, and we've implemented and we've done it, and we've seen what works and what doesn't. So without further ado, let's just jump into this a little bit with Airbnb bust. Let's talk about the economy, right? Josh, do you want to talk a little bit more about like the situation of what's happening and how that impacts Airbnb?
Yeah, sure. So Patrick and I bought our first property about a year ago with the assumption that we're going to be able to refi in the fours. But now it's looking like we're going to have to refi for an investment cash out refi. We're getting quotes at 9.5%. And we got one for 0 points. There's been some at 1 point. We still have to do a 3-year prepay penalty. So loans are really hard to come by right now. And the market right now is shifting because of the rates. People can't make enough money on the income side to cover the mortgage, which is higher than it used to be. So because of that, we're seeing Airbnb sit on the market for a long time. We put 2 of ours on the market and we got 0 offers on both. So it's not a good time to sell, but it's a great time to buy. You can make offers $50,000, $100,000 under asking, and some people are desperate and will take that. So I mean, there's definitely a lot of opportunity right now, but the way to get through this is we'll definitely talk about how to get through it. And a big way is to differentiate itself is you need to have amenities, you need to have high-end design. And Patrick, do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, we'll get into that soon, but I do want people to know that about the economy in general. Right now, there's a lot of fear, right? So there's a lot of fear looming, and people are trying to save their money and trying to preserve. There's high gas prices. So if you have a drive to destination market like Joshua Tree, even fly to destination, those are going to be impacted. We are in a recession by nature of the definition. So, people are, not taking the fly to Hawaii destination vacations, but more so maybe these more local vacation destinations. So, if you're in a vacation rental market, that's a drive to vacation rental market, you might be in a better position. And we're seeing this influx, and this is an interesting statistic, is the demand in Yucca Valley. Josh, do you remember what that statistic was when we logged into Airbnb? It was like
It's 60% higher than last year. So the
60%.
demand is still very high.
Yeah. The problem is the demand went up. So that means it's their Airbnb, all these platforms, short-term rentals as a whole is being more popularized through the media and everything that's going on. Everyone and their mothers seem to want to swoop in as well, which means you're going to get a lot more supply as well. So some markets have seen this huge influx of supply, and it undermines the demand factors that have been at play, which are positive, right? So what's going to help, right? So in cities with regulations, those are really good indicators of stopping that. Like, a lot of people are scared of regulation. Regulation is your friend, especially if you're able to withstand and get into the market. Because if you can get a property and they don't have any more properties that can be short-term rentals, you're locked in. So it's a good long-term strategy that a lot of people overlook. They think that less regulations is good, but when there's less regulations, I'm telling you, they can change things up like that. And I'd rather be in a market where I know what the regulations are. I'm aware of them. I know how to play by the rules, and I can make my listing and stand within the rules and the parameters. Because look, everyone that is not building sustainable business, they're going to get locked out like that. Like one day they're going to be like, well, we're going to want to close down everything that's illegal, and 20% of the supply goes down, or 30% or whatever. And now you have a viable business because you did things right, and you just boosted your ability to be booked, essentially. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be, there's supply and there's demand, right? And you want demand to reach the point where it's higher than supply, so you can charge higher prices, right? So that's kind of where it's at. In terms of the landscape that I've seen personally, in my opinion, I think the middle people are being squeezed out. So either, Airbnb was always known as being the affordable option. It was built off of the story of having a mattress, or like a blow up mattress inside of an apartment in San Francisco. That was the premise of how it was birthed it was the cheaper alternative for people to go to a place like San Francisco where hotels were expensive. Now that has changed completely. People do full house rentals, which is much more common. But there is going to be a demand for those low price accommodation. There's going to be a demand for those luxury differentiated experience. If you're in the middle and you're just chilling there, you're just a house and you have nothing there, then you're not going to get booked. It's just the way it's going to be. It's getting squeezed out. So you got to either differentiate or you got to compete on a commodity level. And who wants to be a commodity? You know, an apple's priced as a price as an apple because of what the world market tells it that it's priced at. That's why it's a commodity. If you want to be a vacation that's an experience and differentiated, you need to build a differentiated experience that has all the components that we're going to talk about. So let's go into it without further ado. What are those components, right? So Josh, do you want to talk about our two properties, Casa Amigo and Casa Galactica?
Yeah, those two are great examples of how to do it right and how to do it wrong. Our first property ever was Casa Amigo, and we did a nice design. We had a full fireplace that was tiled. We did a nice kitchen, high-end appliances, but then we left it there. We didn't hire a designer. We didn't do wallpaper in the bedrooms or any murals, and our furniture was not high-end. We went with Bob's Furniture because we wanted to go for a cheap sleeper sofa so we can have more people in, but it doesn't look good. We didn't have enough decor, enough art, and our game room just has normal walls, normal floor, and a pool table. It doesn't look special. It's just a normal house. So when people are looking on Airbnb, they're going to see houses that are potentially the same price or a little bit more that are way more exciting to stay at. And I know for girls especially, it's got to look cute. Like that's the one that we have named Petite Noir. We hired a designer. It's extremely cute and it's doing really, really well. And we just keep getting reviews how cute the place is, and that's really important. Casa Galactica, it's the same size, same bedrooms. That one's booking out way higher. We hired a designer. We went
3 minutes away as well.
Yeah, what? 3 minutes? Yeah.
It's only 3 minutes away.
Yeah, we went with a designer. We went with high-end furniture from West Elm, and we made the game room pop. We went with really cool arcade carpet. We went with lights, a blue light, a moon wallpaper on the back. We had a sign that says game room. We took it to another level. It only cost us $25,000 more for that house, but we're getting booked way more, maybe $100 a night more, and we're booked more often. And it's the same exact type of house. So, I mean, that's kind of a proven model that design really, really matters. We didn't even do that many amenities. We just had the game room and a jacuzzi.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, yeah, we have a game room and a jacuzzi, and we thought, in a hammock, and we thought we were going to destroy our competition. Look how cute our place is. Look at these high-end appliances that we have. We're going to kill it. We're going to do amazing things. And yes, those things matter, but at the same time, there's certain things that give you a way higher ROI than having, you know, Brooklyn and sheets. We had Brooklyn and sheets because we thought it was going to do this crazy impact on people. But the thing is, people aren't even booking it to even get that experience. Like, people are never feeling the Brooklyn, and because they're not able to like even book the place to begin with, right? So it was a wasted money. And we cut costs where we needed to. At Casa Galactica, the one with all of the good game room and all that design, that one we cut costs where we didn't need to. Like, for instance, we cut costs on you know, the appliances weren't the nicest. We cut costs on what we did outside. We didn't fence the whole thing. We cut costs where we didn't use like Brooklyn, and we use Amazon style. Amazon pretty much everything to like, you know, put everything inside of the property that really doesn't matter as much. And we saved money that way, but we spent money where we needed to spend money. We did spend money on the game room. And the game room was under $10,000. It was probably like at 10,000, somewhere around there. And the impact was immaculate.
Yeah, and that's including drywall, and that's not just games. That's like, actually making it into a normal room, because the garage didn't even have drywall. So you don't have to spend 10,000 if the place has already got drywall and it's a nice shell.
Yeah.
So we had to spend a little bit more.
Like I've consulted clients on their game rooms, and I've seen game rooms that are quite literally $5,000. It would have been amazing, but they spent 1,000. It's like that extra 4,000 would have made a huge impact, but they didn't want to spend it. The extra money to spend on decor to make a place feel a certain way. You know why? Because this business is about the feeling, right? So let's go into design. These are the long-term strategies to increase bookings, right? So this is like, if you're first getting started and you're getting into a property, or you need to revamp a property or do whatever, these are the things that I would invest to get it to the next level. The first one's going to be design. So let's talk about design. Who do we hire, Josh? How do we do the design process?
What was the company that we used for West Elm? What are they?
We use Host GPO, West Elm.
Host GPO. So they have a deal where you get 30% off. You get a free designer, and essentially.
Oh, by the way, Josh, you can't say the percentage you get off. We're gonna have to cut that, but publicly. But
you get a percentage off. And you get white gloves. So they basically put all the furniture where it needs to go as well. So you don't have to spend the money on a contractor to build anything or place anything. It's all done already. So we started with that. We got a really nice discount, and it was 100% worth spending the extra money to go with the high-end brands versus Wayfair. And then we also, on top of that, decided, because they're only doing furniture, we now need decor. So we hired another company on design, and they made sure that we had the right blankets, the right pillows, the right, paintings, wallpaper to make sure everything comes together and everything looks cute and pretty, so that when people go through the photos, because the photos is the main thing, we only like to design everywhere where it's going to stand out in a photo, because that's what their booking is off of photos.
Yeah. Katrina asked about, there's two questions. We'll answer these questions right now. So can you help repeat the name of the designer that you used? Okay. So we had two sets of things. We had 2 sets. So the first part was the big furniture pieces. So we used West Elm's free designer with their program. If you pay 10% of whatever the cost of the final amount is, so let's say it's 15,000, you pay 10% for the shipping, the consolidation of all the items, and then the setup. So you don't have to go and unravel all these boxes. They'll do it for you. They'll pretty much like set it up, and they put all the rugs and everything in the right place, and it makes it super easy. And the designer's included with that, so which is cool. That's the first thing. So Host GPO has that partnership where you get that percentage off, and on top of getting the setup and whatnot. So we've saved a lot of money there. The actual designer for the decor. The decor, so the way that we, depending on the property, we used this company called On Design Interiors. So they are it's Kristen and Heather. For the people, has anybody heard of STR Secrets? It's a podcast. Mike's on it, and so that's his wife that's doing that. And she does a really good job of making like these really differentiated experiences and really standing out with colors. And I've actually interviewed them on my podcast, which will give you some good pointers on design that she mentioned to me that would be a huge impact if you're like past that process of like designing it from scratch. So for like right now, I think the biggest thing is use color. Let me answer one more question. Did you add heat AC to the garage game room?
We have a split system.
Yeah, we have.
So it's about $2,000
in Casamigo, but at Astor, the game room, that one is
central.
That's central, and so our guy.
But Baron is a split system as well.
Okay, yeah. So we do split systems, or sometimes we'll do a full. Like if it's central and we're replacing anyways in our rehab, we just add it in. But if you're just buying a property and it doesn't have AC, then I would do a split system in there.
And you don't have to do a game room, but you should take advantage of the garage. It's extra space and you can put some amenities, a movie theater, whatever you want to do. But I
Yeah.
definitely recommend using that space.
Yeah, a cool tip for finding out what to do with that space with design. I did the design for the game room at Casa Galactica. That was like Josh was like, "Hey, take this away, whatever you want to do." I said, "Okay, great." And I found budget friendly design. I found the carpet. The carpet was $3 a square foot. It's or 350 or something. It was cheap. And the drywall and all that was included and the paint. But our games were like $500 or less each. Really, it's not much. The glow in the dark, that was like 700, 800 maybe for the air hockey table. What I'm trying to say, it's really not that expensive. You just gotta get inspired on what you think you should do. Some other things I've seen, which I've got inspired through Etsy. I like using Etsy. I like using what's it called? Etsy, Pinterest, and the last one is going to the play option and figuring out like where we can get like life size like bowling balls or things like that. Is there a place where you can get the arcade games at a discount? Yes, so Arcade One Up is always having discounts at various stores. So what I like to do is go into Google Shopping and do Arcade One Up games, and then there you'll find like a bunch of really good options. So that's what I would recommend. For the people that like that's for arcade games. If you want to get other games, Wayfair has discounts, especially you can get their business account pretty easily. They'll have discounts every so often. Even Amazon. I mean, it's really all over the place. But Arcade One Up games tend to be really affordable for arcade games.
And use Google. If you put in air hockey table in Google, it will tell you all of the options versus just going straight to Wayfair. You're only going to get their options. So Amazon may have the exact same air hockey table for $100 less. And you'll only see that if you actually go to Google. And sometimes you can take a screenshot of that air hockey table, put it into Google, and it'll literally show you everywhere you can get that air hockey table, and you can choose the cheapest one.
What's cool is like when you're dealing with Airbnb guests, you don't need to get new stuff all the time. So like open box items, Facebook Marketplace, we've had success with where we've even seen like hot tubs for sale on Facebook Marketplace. So like, I know that for sure, like if you can get somebody out there and pick it up, like if you have a runner in that market, or if you're a handyman, you want to pay them, that could be a great way for you to get, like we got a pool table that was used, and it really doesn't matter because people are going through the property and they're gonna bang that stuff up anyways. So the fact that you can get something from Facebook Marketplace works for a game, but maybe not so much for like furniture, unless it is high end and like West Elm or something like that. But that takes up a lot of time. So really, you gotta choose your battles. Okay, cool. So that's for games and all that. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? Like arcade, design. I'll just kind of add also a huge impact for our listings is wallpaper. Wallpaper and using a lot of color. So what I mean by that, we use this company called Miami Wallpaper. You guys can feel free to go there. Anything that you find on Shutterstock and you send to them, they can actually make it into a mural. So we do that, and our designers get percentage off with them. So we just use them, and they just pretty much, you get the size of the mural and then they pretty much print it out and send it to you. And it's great because you can get any image you want. So you can get inspired based on like Shutterstock, right? Like if you're doing a cool game room with hexagons, you can find a design like that, right? Are you using the wallpaper instead of an actual muralist painting? Yes, we do. With painting, you tend to pay for the labor of the painting and actually designing that paint, even though it could have a huge impact, it is costly. And we've seen that the wallpaper does just as well. And on top of that, it's like the reason you want that color is when you create your hero image, you have to think like this. People are never going to see any of your other photos if you don't get people to click through. So having, like, imagine in Joshua Tree, I know that, and scroll through your market and see what everyone has in that market and see what kind of colors pop up. You know, if it's a beach market, a lot of people are probably going to have the ocean and a view or whatever. Great. You got to find something that really can stand out and have a different color. So if they're using a lot of blues because they're showing the ocean, it's the ocean market, or like in our market, there's a lot of browns. We use reds. We use different like yellows. We use all these different colors to really like capture people's attention. And our number one listing, Casa Galactica, is number one, first page listing. And the colors are blue. It's got this blue color. And people, there's nobody else that has this bright bluish, purplish color. And so we automatically stand out. We automatically get clicks. And on top of that, it doubles down. It's an amenity that people care about. It's a game room. It's something different. It's a differentiator. Plus the color's unique.
Yeah,
It's
when
a
you're
double whammy.
scrolling down, it makes you stop when you see something that pops out. That's the main reason we're on page one.
Yeah, because we get so many clicks and it doesn't even matter if they don't convert and it's not what they're looking for. They're at least intrigued. And that is enough to boost your algorithm, like in the algorithm. So definitely get as many clicks as you can. Yeah. So Scott says, I have blue kitchen cabinets. Awesome. Yeah, we use blue kitchen cabinets too. And our Casa Amigo has blue kitchen cabinets, and that helps with the eye, and it definitely helps scrolling. But at the same time, it's not an amenity, right? So you want to find the double whammy, which is an amenity and a different color. So like in your hot tub, put, like, this is what I would recommend, is like, and I've recommended to people, put a specific light color inside of your hot tub. You can be at those for 20 bucks and make it illuminate that color. So when you do the twilight photo of the hot tub overlooking the mountain, you have a separate color that really stands out. You see what I mean? So it's like really thinking creatively, like, how can I really double down on what I'm trying to do? Is this the place? It's wallpaperstoremiami.com. Yes, that's the place. So the clicks is what puts you on top of the list in Airbnb. Good question, Oscar. It is one of the main criteria. So with the with the Airbnb algorithm, nobody knows really what goes into it other than the people that code it. So everyone is taking their best guess. However, we have done a lot of studies as a community, not us too, but like as a community, of what works and what doesn't. The main big differentiator is going to be reviews. That is like one of the biggest. So getting 5-star reviews is really important, and getting a lot of reviews is really important. How like we see some listings that have over 100, 200 reviews that rank higher because they have more reviews than somebody that, like, you know, that's just starting out. So when you're just starting out, you're not going to get as many, you're not going to be seen as much past your first month. So your first month, they give you that boost. And then after that first month, they put you in your place. They put you on page 10 or whatever you deserve to be based on what findings they had in that first month, right? So you want to prove to them in the first month, when you launch, you want to prove to them you are the best listing. How do you prove that? Lower prices, high bookings. When you have low prices, high bookings, keep in mind, people are coming in expecting $100 a night and you're delivering $300 a night experience. Guess what? My expectations is really low. I delivered above expectations. You just made them give you a 5-star review like that. And so that's why a lot of people say, oh, I have 400 5-star reviews, and they're not making that much money on Airbnb. Why? Because they're not maximizing their pricing. After a certain point, you should maximize your pricing. You shouldn't just keep it low, right? But in the beginning, it's so critical because it helps with the algorithm. So the clicks is what puts you on the top of the list, or so you suggest to start with low prices. When you get started, you're trying to get reviews, low prices help if you can afford it. So in the beginning, it's just important. But you know, if your listing is if you don't do the design well, if you don't differentiate well, that stuff gets kind of thrown out of the window, because that's what people are going there for in the long run. Like, you can trick the algorithm all you want, but at the end of the day, if you're not delivering what people want, it's gonna be a losing battle. But yeah, in the beginning, for sure, if you do a good design, you do a great job with the property, start with the lower prices, get those bodies in, especially in the first month. Airbnb sees people are booking, people are inquiring, people are clicking, because price is the number one indicator of why people book or not. Great. And there are certain properties, when you really differentiate, like our best property, we'll get somebody that inquires and asks for a discount. And I'm so confident that they can't find something of that high caliber, even if it's a slight discount. I know that it's a differentiated experience, and I have the ability to say no. And I say, you know what? Don't worry about it. Because in my back of my head, I know somebody will book it. And they'll come back to me and say, you know what? We'll stretch you this one time because we really want this experience. It's an emotional buy at the end of the day, right? So it's nothing wrong with that. It's an emotional buy. If it's differentiated product, people are going to want to stay there. So let's go. We ran through a lot of stuff. I do want to talk about the amenities, and Josh loves amenities. So I'm going to let him talk about this one.
Okay, so our property Petit Noir, last month we did $9,600 in gross. This month we're going to surpass that because of the holidays. And the reason, it's only a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And the reason being is we went extremely high end on the design. We spent probably 50,000 plus on furniture, but also the amenities. So we went with a cowboy pool, but not just a cowboy pool sitting there. We went with a deck surrounding the cowboy pool that looks amazing. We stain the wood, and we have a place for you to tan on that. We also have a jacuzzi. We have a fire pit. We have a barbecue. And we have hammocks. And the biggest thing that differentiates that property versus the other is it's remote. So we didn't talk about this yet, but being remote in that market, you have to figure out what works the best in your market. But in our market, in the Joshua Tree area, being remote is what people want. They don't want neighbors. They want privacy. They don't want noise. That's the main experience of Joshua Tree, is for quiet. So a house that is not right on top of another neighbor, that's huge in that market.
So you got to understand your customer avatar. We know what who our customers are, and each property is a little bit different, right? So for that high-end property, we know it's an elevated experience, but some people, we know people go out there to do shrooms. It's just a thing. And so we made a shroom room, right? Like, it's an amenity that people actually, it's like thinking ahead, because we know that it might not be something that people look for, but they would be excited to use it. So it's one of those things. But there's other things that people do look for, like sauna is, well, a hot tub is like a key thing, right? We know people search for pools, so we add like above ground pool, right? So whatever we can for the filtration of Airbnb, when you go in, people love filtering. People love going, oh, well, this, and this. That's why amenities are so important. And that's why right now, the best thing you can do is just go into your Airbnb or VRBO or whatever account and get those amenities clicked. Whatever ones you have, whichever ones you don't have, make sure you update that.
Mm-hmm. And I forgot to mention sauna. We have a barrel sauna at Petit Noir, and we get a lot of reviews and comments on that sauna. A lot of people said that they booked it just because of the sauna. And that sauna costs $4,000, and it's definitely bringing in some money per night. So I think that was a really good investment, and I would add that to your properties as well.
For sure.
Because it's special when you're scrolling through, you don't see barrel saunas like that.
Yeah. And so with us as well, like these saunas, what we realize is that people might be thinking, well, how do you think of the sauna, and does it work with every market? Well, it depends, right? So it works for our market purposely because we know our customer avatar. Like we said before, the person that's going to be coming and staying at our place wants to get away, wants to relax. What's more relaxing than a sauna? Sauna is a great way to relax. People like cold plunging in the pool and then going to the sauna, right? Like that's part of the experience. It's almost like a spa retreat, right? So you got to understand your market and what people want to go there for. I know a lot of people for Casa Galactica has that room, the arcade room. Kids love it. And so a lot of people book for their kid's birthday or for, whatever the case may be, right? Like understanding that demographic will help you moving forward with whatever you do in your market. But don't like listen in and say, oh, well, we have a sauna, so you should definitely get a sauna too. Understand the customer and why they're coming there. One thing that we'll give you right now, and this is something that we haven't even told anybody yet, is we are sorry.
I said, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, you know where I'm going with this. So we are revamping Casamigo totally. And we are realizing what works in our market and what doesn't. We are adding pickleball courts to our properties. Now you might be thinking pickleball court, like how much money is that really? From our analysis that we did, we realized that in our market, pickleball court really isn't as much money for the return that we get. Right. So like people think about pools. Pools are like $50,000 to $70,000. I mean, it depends on the market. If it's Palm Springs, it could be worth it. Right. If it's, there's specific markets where you need it, like Scottsdale. But look into your market. Like we looked at pickleball court. It could be around $10,000. Josh, would you agree?
I mean, on the low end, we have a contractor that could get it done. I don't know that everyone could do that, but even if it's $15,000, $20,000.
Let's say it's 15, like how much more money you think that can make?
I mean, I love pickleball. I know a lot of people it's a phenomenon right now. And I know Palm Springs area, everyone's playing pickleball. Joshua Tree area is not too far. And we're starting to see that there's a lot of people adding pickleball courts. And it's kind of going viral every time it does. And I personally feel like if you have a group of 6 people and it's only $100 more, you're paying, less than $20 a person per night to play pickleball all day. I don't see why it couldn't add the value of $100 a night on some properties for a $10,000 to $15,000 investment.
Exactly. And so these are the things that I would recommend. So I would recommend that everybody really focuses on their market. And this is what I would do. I would get a list. I would just go into your market. I would go into the play category, but I'd also go into like other categories too, and just kind of play around with the categories, honestly, all over the world. Like I've seen somebody that puts like climbing wall above a child's bed. Like that was so cool. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So it's like these ideas I got, and I just noted all these ideas down, even if it's crazy, even if it's like sounds really expensive. Oscar said, wouldn't that be a liability? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it would be potentially a liability. I don't know, but Josh has a climbing wall on one of his properties that he's developing. Maybe Josh, you can give more insight into climbing walls.
I was going to do the climbing wall. Decided against it, mainly because you need to get permits for it. But if you have a crash mat, or if you have if you have somebody sign a waiver for pretty much anything, you should be good. But yeah, it is a liability. People sue for anything.
That's what I was worried about. Or any amenity.
Sorry, Oscar, can you say that one more time?
That's what I was worried about, like providing stuff. Like, for example, like I'm in Big Burst, I would like to provide snowboards, but what if they get hurt? No, I can get sued for that.
So people
I don't know that you would
in some properties as well. I think you can, that one is more so because look, I mean, I think for us, what we do is when we put the house rules in on our like Airbnb or like a rental agreement for VRBO or direct booking, have them sign a rental agreement. That's like common. So what I would do is I would put in the house rules, hey, we're not liable for, you getting hurt like in our hot tub or, stuff like that. That's really important. So and it's still risk, but there's other ways to help you with that as well. I know somebody just put in the chat, how much liability coverage do you carry per house? Josh, do you know?
I don't know what the insurance covers. No.
We don't know what the insurance covers, but in our market, it's required to get not only just normal insurance, but renters. It's like it's a special insurance for short-term rentals. And it allows you to cover guests burning the house down or wherever the case may be.
But Airbnb covers that as well.
They do have a liability protection. It's more of a marketing play than anything, but if like your house burns down, like that will help. Like Airbnb will help cover it to a certain amount.
Because they have their own insurance.
They have their own, but it's tricky. I definitely recommend looking into that. If you're doing off market like bookings, sorry, not off market, like direct bookings, I would definitely look into Superhog. And they're a company that's just awesome at helping you pretty much. They take a deposit down for every booking. They vet the guests more than Airbnb would ever do or any other platform. And they also help you protect your assets. So if anything happens, they'll cover and they'll pay out on their cover. So it's not like they'll pay out way more than other people will. So it's like if like, for instance, if a vase breaks for Airbnb, it's a lot harder to get that covered, but with them, like they're more open to that. So it's called Superhog for anybody that wants to look into that. If you do end up like talking to them, just mention my name, Patrick. They know me. I think I get like a little kickback from that. But either way, I just wanted to help you guys out. So either way, whatever works, definitely a great option to look into. So going on, Stacy said, ice cold plunge tubs are getting super popular. Do you think that would be a draw? I think that yes, cold plunge, you see that these are the creative ways you can differentiate. That would be, I mean, how much does a cold plunge really cost? People use our cowboy pools as a cold plunge and they just call it a day. It's not cold, but they'll sometimes, and Josh, I don't know if you know this, but sometimes guests will get ice cubes from our fridge and throw them into the pool.
For real? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't tell you that.
But you can get a bathtub that kind of looks like the cowboy pool from Tractor Supply as well, or you can just get a normal bathtub for $600-700.
Yep.
And just have it sitting outside and put really cold water, and yeah, it's less than $1,000.
Yep.
I mean, with hooking it up, probably a little bit more, but it's that's another amenity. So it's definitely important, and people see that and they book because of that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say is when you make that list of amenities that you could potentially get, and not everything's gonna be affordable, but I want you to look up every single one of those amenities to just get an idea for how much it would cost, because we were shocked to know that we could have a full-size pickleball court for 10 grand. Like, that's crazy. And we know that it's going to have a high ROI on that. And we can create that from scratch with our contractors. So, look into your market and look like volleyball court sounds amazing. It sounds like a great amenity, but how much really is a net and sand like laid up and like, you know what I mean?
Cheap, and it's worth it. That's 100% worth. People love volleyball. Having a group of people playing sports, that's exciting for some groups not. So that's why it's great to have a bunch of amenities so that some people book because of the volleyball court and some people prefer the spa or the sauna. So it's good to have a lot of options, and you'll be booked more often. And it's worth spending that extra money, because you don't want to be the same as everybody else. You have to be different, or in this market especially, you'll fail.
Yeah, but you got to differentiate. You got to have something that's more to your market. Like if high internet speed is a big thing in your market because you're in a downtown area, do that, right? So it really depends. We're getting to the top of the hour, so I'm definitely going to kind of breeze through some stuff here. Drone shots have worked really well for us is something that I want to say. One thing that I should always stress is run your properties like a business, get all the systems and operations down. If you need more information about that, I'm more than happy to talk to you about that. Those are things that everyone should be doing, no matter what. Price Labs, Hospitable, whatever PMS you use, do that. Having a runner really helps. I know a lot of people in different markets have runners, people that get paid either by the month or by the event, and they'll come and just like do anything for the guests that they need it. done for. It just helps overall. And here's some algorithm hacks. So we talked about long-term strategies, but let's talk about small little hacks that we can do to really just help us increase our visibility, right? So some quick hacks that you could do is they're showing the total price. So there's going to be a lot of different things. We haven't tested this one out per se, but a lot of people say that if you lower your cleaning fee, and make up for it in the ADR, the average daily rate, like for your nightly rate, it actually ranks you higher in the algorithm. I haven't tested it, but I'm going to test it, and so I'm going to see what it is. There's also these other factors of like, changing up your first 5 photos, making sure your hero image has a lot of color in it. Like a lot of times for ranking in a certain category, we have to like, I put in like in the descriptions of all the photos, like arcade room, or whatever, like all these different descriptors with all these different words, like desert view. So I get ranked in the desert category or, whatever. And so all these different things are definitely helpful for making sure that you get optimized. But I think the most important thing I will say is to get a platform like RankBreeze. For the people that don't know what RankBreeze is, once you really get going and you want to take things to the next level and measure your success, and this is why we can tell you with confidence where we're at for all our properties, is because we have this tool called RankBreeze. Calvin spoke at my event. He's an awesome guy. They basically tell you where you are ranked in the algorithm for Airbnb. And it helps because then you can make the adequate changes. You make the change, you can mark the change, and you can have the notes for that change. And 5-10 days go by, I usually recommend 5 to 7 days. Then you could see what the impact of that was. Did that take you to the 3rd page? Did that take you to the 2nd page? What did that really do for you? Because a lot of people check using their own browser and not an incognito. And then you don't realize that doesn't, it shows you yours because you've clicked on yours so many times that they're going to constantly show yours higher. So you want to make sure that you go either incognito mode. That's a cheap way to do it. That's free. But you might be scrolling to page 10 to find your property potentially. Who knows? So do it a better way would just be to measure where you're going and use RankBreeze. It's like $30 for 3 properties. It's not bad. And we use it a lot. We could use it more, but we definitely use it a good amount, and we can rank. And so we can see what we need to do. Yeah, that's pretty much what I will say. I think I'm going to close this off and then we can open up to questions real quick. I will say this just as a closing. Yes, there is this thing called the Airbnb bust. Yes, people are going to fear. There's going to be fear. There's going to be people that are scared. There's going to be people that tell you otherwise. But I promise you, and this just goes through my experience as a business owner and my experience just through seeing this shit play out in COVID. And I worked for a company during COVID, Airbnb arbitrage company, and I saw what happened, and we thought it was the end of the world. And I will just say that right now, it's a time where it's reached a certain point with a little bit of the mainstream. It's just got a little bit of the mainstream. A lot of people started getting into it. A lot of people started talking about it. You know what? Like at the end of the day, people still travel. People have been traveling for years upon years. There's vacation rental markets for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And, it's not going to change. I mean, it's only going further up in demand, and a lot of weak players are leaving. And it's just like any kind of industry, the best will stay and the weak will fold. And if you implement these strategies especially the long-term strategies we talked about, and not just the hacks are great, but those are short-term. If you implement good design, if you implement great amenities, if you really take the time to understand your customer, this will fundamentally change your game. And you will be one of those people. I can't imagine what it must have felt like to be in Tahoe 10 years ago when the prices went crazy, Tahoe, California. Same goes for any other industry. Like or market. But at the end of the day, it's like whatever market you're in, just make sure that you have the demand factors at play and just hold out, right? I don't get scared from saturation, because saturation just means that there's enough demand that people want to go there. And so I rather compete and be better than everyone and jump through all the hoops, do all the things I need to do. Josh and I are willing to, we're still buying in Joshua Tree. People think that we're crazy. People constantly tell me, isn't it saturated, whatever. Our numbers speak for ourselves. Like, yes, there are properties that don't do well, but that's because we didn't follow the fundamentals of what we need to do to get it to what we need to get it to. And so with the fundamentals applied, our properties do well.
And if it doesn't, we can take action and add the amenities or design that we feel would take it to the next level. If you do it right, it will always succeed. So you just have to spend the money.
Yeah. So a lot of people were, so that's what I want to, that's the big takeaway, guys. Stick strong, implement these things that we talked about today, or do it right when you get into it. And really just start thinking about it from the end user, the person that's going to visit your space, and how they're going to feel when they walk into your place, and how they're going to feel when they see your listing, and how they're going to feel when that first photo comes up on their, like, you want to invoke emotion. It's an emotional business. And that's why there's a lot of benefit to it. And you will see the benefit of it. We see a lot of people complaining, but guess what? Complaining means you care. So,
yeah. And then when they complain, you're getting free advice on what to do. And now you make those changes and you're not getting those complaints anymore. So we were talking about right when you get the property on, do you lower the prices? Yeah, you could lower the prices, and you're also going to find out very quickly what you need to change. Do I need to add more towels? We only had 6 pieces of forks at the beginning. We had complaints, so we added more silverware. Like, these are little things that as time goes on, you can learn what to do, and you won't make those mistakes again going forward on your second, third, fourth, and so on properties.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to say. That's closing it up. Does anybody have any questions about any of the things we talked about? And I'm going to go through some of the stuff that people chat. What's the, like, hospitable versus guesty for host versus owner res? I get this question a lot. I will say that it really depends. So, and that's such a bad answer. Probably people are really looking for something. But I will say that, like, it depends on what you're trying to do. Guesty for host is going to be more expensive, but they have more features. Guesty for host is really good for if you're co-hosting and you want really good dashboard that has all the different aspects of an owner being able to see their financials on their property. You know, hospitable doesn't really do that well, but they do have reports, and it's a little funky, but it does a job for me, and it's cheap and it's affordable. And so for us, we use hospitable. But people use OwnerRes, and they like OwnerRes better because it allows you to plug in with any direct booking website. It does that really well. And so every platform has its cons and its pros. You have to really understand what you want to get out of it and just go with that platform, right? And you might have to switch once or twice. But as long as you stick to the big ones, the hospitable, guesty for hosts, hostfully, all that kind of stuff, your needs might change and you might have to switch out. I know my needs are definitely going to change in the next year. You know, as I take on more clients for co-hosting, I can't stay on hospitable and much longer, and that's going to be okay. But for now, it works for me, so I'm just keeping it right now. Let's see. Renting since the 60s. In the Smokies. Okay. Yeah. Madeline says that people have been ranking since or renting since for decades. It's all about the little details. Yes, a lot of people bought, but they also took over rental companies, and most are now self-managing this area. Oh, in North Carolina. Cool. She has 11 acres and she has great amenities. People can't compete with her. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have 11 acres, that's kind of nice. It's a remote place and it's private. You get a certain person. Can these strategies be applied for rental arbitrage? Yes, and yes, they can. So most of them can. Rental arbitrage, like, it depends, right? You have to run your numbers, right? Is it worth adding a sauna in a rental arbitrage unit? You know, I don't know, maybe, if it's enough of enough of a arbitrage opportunity for that, but if there's like a return. But most times, arbitrage, I think the biggest piece of advice for arbitrage is just don't skimp out with like Facebook furniture. Especially because with arbitrage, you can always take that furniture. If you're working with like apartment units, you can always take that furniture and go to like a self-storage if the contract ends at any point. But I would definitely not skimp out on the furniture no matter what. You can always try. People don't realize furniture's personal property. You can always move it. Like I know Josh and I, we've moved things around from property to property. So, and it works better in some properties. Seems like guest seat for host sucks. The hospitable dashboard seems better. Yeah, I mean, you see now everyone has a different opinion depending on what they think, right? Like there's a lot of different takes. I hear guest seat is easier, blah blah. Can you share the link of both properties you talked about? Yes, of course. So let me show you. Yeah, let me put this in here. Definitely don't cheap out on. Where did y'all get your barrel sauna? Maybe Josh, you can answer that.
We got them from Wayfair. They sell them at Home Depot. They sell them at saunabath.com. Just Google barrel sauna and see what price is the cheapest. But we get 10% off at Wayfair. There's actually, we never mentioned this, but there's a company called Minoan Experience. And there's probably like 50 to 100 vendors on there. I just got 40% off at Society 6. West Elm.
Yeah, Minoan.
Say the percentage off on this.
Yeah, somebody said that.
Okay, West Elm's 30%, CB2, 30%, Crate and Barrel. There's a ton of different brands on there, as well as pots and pan companies. That's definitely the best one, user-friendly. They respond within an hour usually once you add to your cart. So those are huge discounts. And we get 10% off at Wayfair on there. So that's a good way to get some discounts.
Yeah, really good. Really good. Does anybody have any other questions before we finish up here?
Patrick, you want to put all 4 Airbnbs on there? And then if anybody wants to stay there, we can give discounts as well.
Everybody wants to experience.
Dusty Dunes is our newest one. We're in our first month and we got 500 a night for a 4-night stay during New Year's Eve. And we learned from the first 3.